Alright, so here's a build that you can use to farm Ascendant Alloys this week on Neptune for the weekly variant of the Lightfall campaign, which is the first contact and probably the easiest mission to farm Ascendant Alloys for the Lightfall campaign. I always keep an eye out on the Witch Queen, the weekly Witch Queen, and the weekly Lightfall campaign. And then whatever is the easiest farm, I will farm it. Sometimes I'll farm both. But yeah, as you can see here, first contact on average, these are 15-minute runs, just using LFG with a couple of random people, as long as everybody comes in there with decent builds. And as you can see here, you get common drops, which I believe weekly campaign missions are the only source for common drops for Ascendant Alloys. And I did maybe 10 runs this morning, and no joke, my RNG was really good. I got 9 Ascendant Alloys, so yeah, my inventory is looking pretty good on alloys right now. But yeah, if you want to jump into this, it shares the same weekly surges as other master content, like Nightfalls, Master Nightfalls, Grandmasters, Master King's Fall, Master Crota's End. Everything is Void and Strand Surge this week. Different overcharged weapons, shotguns, not really all that useful for my build here. But you also have overcharged weapons in general, so all the weapons from the seasonal artifact, champion mods, etc. Everything gets a 25% damage buff. And as far as the Witch Queen goes, oh yeah, I remade my Warlock at the end of last season, so I have to rerun the Witch Queen campaign just so I can unlock the weekly campaign missions. But it is the Ritual this week, which is the worst mission to farm Ascendant Alloys, because it's the last mission where you fight Savathun, probably the longest mission, so definitely not efficient. But I wanted to put together a build using Necrochasm because I just got it yesterday. And this is a Weapon of Sorrow, so it does poison damage, which synergizes with Necrotic grips. And this thing is basically like the Cursed Thrall origin trait that all the Crota's End raid weapons have, where you get a melee kill, then you have Cursed Thrall explosions for X amount of seconds before the timer runs out. Well, on Necrochasm, every precision kill is a Cursed Thrall explosion, and they can chain react. And by the way, these Cursed Thrall explosions are arc damage, so you could put together a build for Necrochasm to synergize with Arc 3.0 and Arc Weapon Surge mods and stuff like that. But generally, kinetic surges will be your best bet just for general damage. But yeah, Necrochasm stacks with Necrotic grips, or I should say synergizes Necrotic grips on melee hits and defeating many enemies. I think is it just general weapons, but damaging combatants poisons them, dealing increased damage over time. Defeating a poisoned combatant spreads the condition. Right? Provides moderate benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons of sorrow. So this actually boosts the airborne effectiveness of Necrochasm, which I didn't realize, but the main principle here is that doing damage with Necrochasm will spread poison and make a chain react. And also, why Necrotic Grips is so powerful on Broodweaver is because we have 3 charges of Arcane Needle, and every melee hit applies poison. So I'm building into basically tier 10 strength with the help of Font of Vigor. So as you can see here, I have tier 7 strength, tier 7 discipline. Discipline is the lesser important stat to build into. You do want relatively high discipline though, and of course 100 resilience. I'm running Shackle Grenade because this is endgame content. Master campaign missions are very similar to Grandmaster Nightfalls. There's only a 5 power differential between the two of them, so they basically feel the same, which means that Shackle Grenades are just generally going to be better, especially if there's unstoppables in the mission, which there is. But otherwise you can use Grapple Grenade, because using your Grapple Melee will apply poison from Necrotic Grips. And at the same time, if you're using Mind Spun Invocation with Grapple Grenade, you can, once you hit the target, it not only unravels them and does damage over time, but it'll spawn 3 hatchlings, or threadlings. But Shackle Grenade's just better in general for very difficult content. Also with Mind Spun Invocation, you can consume your Shackle, then you get Weaver's Trance for like 30 seconds, so any kills that you get will create a Suspending Blast, which will basically apply a Strand debuff to all enemies that get suspended, which is going to spawn me a lot of Tangles. I'll have no problem getting Tangles every basically 12 seconds until the cooldown is ran out. The other aspect here of running is the Wanderer, and this just kind of works hand in hand with Mind Spun Invocation. Like, if you wanted to, you can go without Mind Spun Invocation and just run maybe Weaver's Call. It's just, I'm not building into Threadlings, so I didn't really feel enticed to use an aspect that kind of revolves around Threadlings. So yeah, Mind Spun Invocation not super necessary here. Neither is the Wanderer. It's just these are the better 2 options, I would say. And plus you get 4 fragments using the 2 of these, whereas with Weave Walk you only get 1 fragment slot. So even though I am playing into tier 10 strength and we have those 3 arcane needles, Weave Walk is not really going to be all that helpful. I'm not a big fan of it, not just because of the lack of fragments that you get from using it, but I also just don't really like the idea of not being in combat, even though it could be, you know, useful for saving your life and going to res your teammates. But yeah, so basically the Wanderer, every Tangle that you spawn, when you destroy that Tangle, it creates a Suspending Blast, right? Similar to when Weaver's Trance is active. So like if you have Weaver's Trance active and you're spawning Tangles left and right, you're just going to be suspending everything from the 2 of them. Plus you can throw the Wanderer. It has better tracking and distance, so you can like specifically throw it at an unstoppable champion to stun them and suspend them. So it's more of a like directly tangible benefit, or more precise targeting with the Wanderer compared to Weaver's Trance. Like if you want to stun an unstoppable, you know, you don't really want to rely on Mind Spun Invocation, because you have to kill something in order to proc the Suspending Blast, and you're not going to kill an unstoppable. Obviously, you need to kill an ad next to it to suspend the unstoppable, which is not very reliable. So usually with champions, it's better just throw your Shackle Grenade instead of consuming it. But because you have the Wanderer as well, this is much more forgiving on suspends, right? So you can have both of these going. You know, get a Tangle, either shoot the Tangle when the unstoppable is near it, or shoot an enemy when the unstoppable is near it, or just throw your Shackle or throw a Tangle at an unstoppable. So there's a lot of different ways that you can take care of champions like this. Then as far as the fragments go, Thread of Isolation, I did 2 runs on this Necrotic build, and both of them were flawless. I didn't die. And then I switched to a Briarbinds build, and I was trying to get some footage for a video on a Briarbinds, but I was dying. I think I did maybe 5 or 6 runs with Briarbinds, and I died every single run. Maybe, you know, part of that is because of careless play, but I was basically running the same edge damage resistance mods on both. I was running 100 resilience on both. And the reason why I was able to go flawless on Broodweaver, and no, I'm not going to say it's because of Thread of Warding, because Woven Mail, like, I'm not always picking up orbs, so there was many times where I didn't have Woven Mail. But I would say it's Thread of Isolation, which this was pretty much the first fragment that came to mind with Necrochasm, because Necrochasm relies on precision damage, precision kills. And then so in my mind, I'm like, well, this is going to work really good with Thread of Isolation, because that has to do with landing precision hits, which is going to sever targets. And why Sever is so good is because A, it gives you 40% more damage resistance from the target. It reduces the severed target's damage output by 40%. So that is a major, basically, damage resistance that you have from severing. So if you're severing a champion or a sniper or any enemy that is a threat, you will have way more survivability because of Sever. Not only that, but Sever is a Strand debuff, which means that you don't have to use Strand weapons to spawn tangles. You can use any weapon, sever the target. Now they're debuffed. When they die, they drop a tangle. And then I could shoot the tangle from the Wanderer, etc. So Sever is very good, and especially good with Necrochasm. But then, like I said, Threat of Warning, so when I do pick up orbs if I'm on the run, it's more 60% more damage resistance in general. We all know that's great. Threat of Continuity, this is going to increase the uptime on Sever and Suspend, so can't really go wrong with that. Threat of Fury, this is going to basically make it so that you will always have an Arcane Needle, right? So you can be shooting out needles like every few seconds just to make sure that you always have that poison debuff on any targets, right? Not only are they unraveled from Arcane Needle, but they're also poisoned, so you're doing basically double damage over time from two different sources with Arcane Needle and Necrotic Grips. And then Threat of Fury is so that whenever you damage targets with a tangle, you basically get a whole free charge immediately. So if you have like no Arcane Needles and you damage an enemy with a tangle, you don't even have to kill them, just damage, you get an Arcane Needle. So this is really good for this build. Even with the negative 10 strength, that doesn't really matter because, like I said, my build, even my stats are good enough to get tier 10 strength with Font of Fury. So basically that's the setup for the aspects and fragments. Now the combat mods I'm using, kinetic combat mods are a little bit less efficient because they're not harmonic. If I was using harmonic, Strand subclass, Strand weapons, I would save all kinds of energy by using harmonic siphon, harmonic targeting, harmonic scavenger, all that kind of stuff. Kinetic's a little pricier, but it's worth it. So you want to be spawning orbs from Necrochasm. More targeting, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but if you're on console and maybe you're not the most precise shooter, targeting is going to help you land those precision hits with Necrochasm, get the Curse Thrall explosions, spread poison, sever targets, just all around. This is key. I would not go without it. So to me, it's more important than even having heavy ammo. But I am doing this in a fire team. You'll see the run at the end of this build overview. But heavy ammo scout, just because I had a little bit of energy left over and not much else to put it into, so may as well put on something useful for the fire team. Then kinetic loader, again, that's 3 energy instead of 2 from harmonic siphon, but worth it because I'm always using Necrochasm. Font of Vigor, like I said, this gives you 30 stat points in strength, so as long as I have armor charge, I have tier 10 strength. And if I wanted to, I could have, and I did before, use Font of Focus as well, because it's always good to stack as many surges as possible because you're not losing anything by doing that. But yeah, I could have ran triple 100s like tier 10 Resil, tier 10 Discipline, tier 10 Strength, but tier 10 Discipline is not very important for this build, right? So it's more important to me to have more Orbs of Power so that I can keep more uptime on Font of Vigor and surges for my weapons. So heavy-handed is just going to help me spawn more Orbs of Power, and especially when I'm on grapple, if like I wasn't doing endgame or master level content, like just normal raids or whatever, normal dungeons, I'd probably use grapple melee. That way, when I grapple melee, spread the poison, unravel, I get an orb right there at my feet to pick up and get my armor charge going. Just a couple universal damage resistance mods here. Concussive and melee, can't really go wrong with that. If you wanted to, you could switch it up to whatever suits the activity, but just generally speaking, this will go well in any activity. It is void threat for first contact, but not. It doesn't really matter. With all the sever and the woven mail and tier 10 resilience and everything, I was, like I said, 2 flawless runs in a row. Then on my legs, I'm using kinetic and void because I'm using 2 void weapons for utility and extra damage, and then kinetic just to give Necrochasm 10% more damage, recuperation, so they can get an immediate chunk of healing on orb pickups, because even though this is a insane damage resistance build with Sever and Woven Mail, like most Strand builds, there's no way to heal unless you're on Banner of War Titan. So recuperation is just kind of always on my legs for Strand builds. Then for my class item, Time Dilation, Powerful Attraction, and Bomber, just so I can get 15 seconds more out of each armor charge for a total of 45 seconds at full capacity. Powerful Attraction is just nice to scoop up any orbs without having to tediously run to each orb. And then you could easily swap this out for Outreach, depending on your preference, but like I said, because I'm already tier 10 strength and using Thread of Fury, I always have an Arcane Needle available, so Bomber, why not? Just helps me get my Shackle Grenade back a little bit faster, so that I can use my Shackle in a pinch. And the weapons I'm using, obviously Necrochasm, like I explained, Snorri. This is just kind of a more for utility for stunning unstoppables. Void is surging, so it's doing 25% more damage. Reservoir Burst does AoE. Compulsive Reloader with Omelon Fluid Dynamics just helps me, I could just shoot, reload immediately, and I get another Reservoir Burst shot. So really, really good combo here with Compulsive and Omelon. It actually took me forever to get this roll, believe it or not, even though this has been out for almost 2 years. Then Taipan just for shooting unstoppable backpacks and any majors, yellow bars, etc. It's just going to quickly get rid of them. So that's pretty much the build. And as far as the artifact goes, Rapid Fire Ranger, that's, like I said at the beginning, that's just going to weaken. That's also going to weaken everything that I'm hitting with Necrochasm in the head. So everything's going to be weakened, severed, curse thrall explosions, poison spreading, etc. This is just a good time. And I used all these artifact mods for tangles because when you're playing in a fire team, it's actually pretty annoying when your fire team members are constantly taking your tangles. So there's a couple in here that give you reduces your cooldown on tangles whenever your teammates pick them up, right? Also, you get some ability regen when you pick up your own. So yeah, pretty good. Especially for fire team stuff. If I wasn't in a fire team and I was running solo, I wouldn't really care about these. But yeah, so that's basically the build, and then I will leave you to the gameplay, and yeah, let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.
I'm checking our location. We've hitched a ride to the Outer Giants, Neptune orbit. Osiris was right. The Witness sent Callus after something hidden here.
Guardian, I did not anticipate a fellow stowaway. Callus is after an artifact on Neptune, the Veil. I'm working on a plan to stop him. For now, find your way through that ship.
pyramid residence is shielding the Cabal. Another weapon from the Witness. Stay vigilant. With the Witness's backing, they could throw anything at us.
Forward! Prepare for descent! Bring glory to the Herald of the Witness!
The Shadow Legion is one step ahead of us. Any damage we can inflict on the Cabal fleet will buy us time.
We should regroup as soon as possible. Maybe we can disable the ship's computer core.
I've located the terminal here and sent you the ship layout.
Just received it. Locating now. Got it. We're not far from the core. That Cabal had a keycard. It should get us through that door. Feel like we should have stayed behind to protect the Traveler and our people. Was it the right choice to follow Osiris?
If the Witness establishes a link with the Veil, it'll be over for the entire system. All of our losses would have been for naught. We have never faced a threat of this magnitude. Even if you stayed, you wouldn't have stood a chance against the Witness. None of us would. This is our only hope to survive the Witness.
What was that?
The fruits of an unholy alliance between the Witness and Callus. I fear they'll have more surprises in store.
Lets us access the computer core. Let's head there now. This is the core of the entire system. Communication, navigation, deployment.
this ship.
We need some way to get to the surface.
I believe I have a method to accomplish that.
Did I detect a bit of hesitation in your voice?
No. My impromptu stratagems have a high rate of success. Just get here quickly.
Look, down there. Callus's flagship. He's heading right for the surface.
Oh, is that you, my tenacious guardian? What do you think of my shadow? Revel in these hollow victories. I want you in the best of spirits when we...
We have to get to Osiris quick. He's used to getting things done his own way. Seems like he hasn't changed, even after... Now he only has us to watch his back. Hopefully he hasn't gone off the deep end.
Okay, here's the plan. Destroy the engine.
Of this ship, the one we're on.
Crazy or not, we need to stop this invasion. I'll do whatever it takes to stop the witness. So if you aren't going to help me, then leave me alone.
Take out the engine. a big fan of Osiris's escape pod plan. Even for him, this is pretty touch and go.
I'm almost at the escape pod. Where are you?
We're being sealed off. Have to find another way. things safe.
Here goes nothing.